Okay, now we get to use long division to divide two polynomials. First of all, the divisor, or the bottom one, that goes on the outside, and then you go x squared plus 2x plus 3 gets divided into, and then on the inside of this little box goes the one that's being divided, or the dividend, and negative 2x to the fourth plus x cubed plus, notice that there's no x squared, so I'm just going to leave a little blank space right here where the x squared would go, and then plus 5x plus 2. And I think that I need to have a little more space. Let me just move this down, and now we're ready to go. So then when you're dividing, you compare the first term with the first term. And how many times will an x squared divide into a negative 2x to the fourth? Well, another way to look at it is, if you need x to the fourth, you're going to have x squared times x squared to give you x to the fourth. Also, we'll have to have a negative 2. And then distribute that. So the first one will be the negative 2x to the fourth, and then distribute it to here, which is going to be negative 4x cubed. And then to here is going to be negative 6x squared. So that's the reason that I left the blank right here, because there's no other x squared, and I don't want to get like these two confused with each other because they're not the same power or exponent. Okay, so then let me put my negative back. I erased it when I erased the blue. Then you subtract. So you subtract this whole line. Another way to look at that is that means that all of the signs are going to change. So all of the negatives are now going to become positives. And then these two terms cancel. That always happens. For the x cubes, that's 5x cubed. For the x squares, there's just 6x squared. And then carry down one term, the 5x. So I'm not going to carry down the 2 because this has 3 terms and this has 3 terms. So we're working with 3 terms on each one. Then the next part is, how many times will an x squared divide into a 5x cubed? So that means that I will definitely need a 5 because our x squared doesn't have one, and I'll need another x. And then distribute. So then when you distribute this 5x, that is going to be 5x cubed. And then this will be 10x squared. I forgot to write my squared on this guy. And then we have 10x squared. And then when you distribute to the 3, that's going to be plus 15x. And then for this row, you always subtract. So 5x cubed minus 5x cubed, those cancel. And then a 6x squared minus 10x squared will be minus 4x squared. And a 5x minus a 15x will be minus 10x. And then carry down the 2. And then we just do the process one last time. So I need to get my blue highlighter and say, how many times will an x squared divide into a negative 4x squared? And they both have x squared. All that's missing is a negative 4. And then I'll distribute the negative 4. So multiply by negative 4. So that's negative 4x squared. Multiply by negative 4. That's negative 8x. And distribute it to the 3. That's going to be a minus 12. And then subtract. So the negative is actually going to change all of these to positives. And then these will cancel. As far as the x's, there's negative 2x. And I already changed the sign, so that leaves behind a 14. And now we're done. I just have to write the answer out as I first take this is how many times it divided in. And then this is the remainder. So my final answer is going to be that it was a 2x squared plus 5x minus 4, and then plus the remainder, 2x plus 14, is divided by the x squared plus 2x plus 3.